This week, the world witnessed yet another mass shooting at a school in the United States, a country where gun-related violence is the leading cause of death for children. This time, the shooting took place in Nashville, where 3 9-year-old students and 3 adult staff members were killed.
Gears up and heads toward danger.
Kids are all locked down, but we have 2 kids that we don't know where they are.
Okay.
Okay?
In a scene that has become all too familiar in this country, first responders in Nashville, Tennessee this morning rushed to respond to reports of an active school shooter.
Another day in America, another mass shooting at a school. This time, Nashville. This time, 3 young children, along with a custodian, a teacher, and the head of the school.
Another school full of suddenly scarred and shell-shocked children.
There's multiple victims down inside the school. Shooter is down now as well.
Just kids yesterday, survivors now, after 3 of their classmates were murdered.
The shooter was later identified as Audrey Hale, transgender, 28 years old, and a former student at the school.
Audrey bought 7 firearms from 5 different local gun stores here legally.
Police say it was a targeted attack involving multiple guns, including 2 assault-style weapons.
I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban.
Lawmakers have repeatedly failed to meet the president's demand.
At a time like this, I just would urge everybody to pray for the families and those affected.
Do you think there's anything that you can do in Congress to prevent something like this from happening again?
That's all I've got for now. Thank you.
There were so many police cars, and then the ambulances started coming away from the school. And that's when I had heard there was a school shooting, and it's just, there's no words.
The public is going to go back to understanding or questioning why we have so few restrictions on guns. We owe it to the parents. Everybody that's attending every vigil in Nashville feels that there needs to be a public response to this kind of tragedy, and to say enough is enough.
I can't stop thinking about the parents who woke up today and the families who woke up today with an empty bed.
9-year-old Evelyn Dykehouse's family says their hearts are completely broken. Haley Scruggs was the daughter of the church's lead pastor. Custodian Mike Hill was a father of 7. And Catherine Kuntz, the head of the school, is being remembered for her sense of humor.
So that's a lot to take in, but there are a few things worth pointing out here, especially in a country that sees several such school shootings every month. So, we saw the police body cam footage in that video. It's exceptionally hard to watch, and there's so much of it that we are intentionally not showing you because of how disturbing it is, and of course because of how we all know it ends. But what's also striking is that it was made public on YouTube less than 24 hours after the shooting. Those critical moments where officers arrive, they make their way into the school, track down the suspect room by room, and confront him with deadly results, just available for anyone with an internet connection to see. That transparency, and so quickly, is unusual. Then there's the way this shooting has been politicized, hijacked by those lawmakers who see this as a tragedy, yes, but also an opportunity to make a political point. Now, that's not new, but that the shooter was transgender, and for a school shooting to be weaponized against the trans community in this way, that is new, almost entirely unprecedented. And of course, this comes at a time when trans rights are being heavily contested in many states in the US. So we're going to delve into all of that with Washington correspondent Katie Simpson. Katie, not even a full day had gone by before Nashville police sort of made this extraordinary decision to so publicly release the body cam footage of 2 of those officers who were involved in that confrontation. And that strikes me as a very different approach than we have seen in other police operations, certainly ones involving school shootings. So tell me, what should we make of that?
I think the motivation here is that police in Nashville want to make sure the public knows
what happened in Nashville is not the same situation that happened in Uvalde, Texas. In that case, everyone will remember it took police officers more than an hour to actually go and confront the attacker and take him out. And there's a massive investigation underway right now. Obviously, there has been widespread criticism of the police response in Uvalde. And the big question is, if police had acted the way they are trained to act and gone in right away, found the assailant and killed him in that case, would children's lives have been saved? Would adults' lives have been saved? That situation is so horrifying and really shook public confidence in the police system. And it's clear that police in Nashville didn't want that to be the situation in this case. And right away, some of the first information they offered in the immediate aftermath of this shooting, police officers got that first call at 10:13 in the morning. The incident was over by 10:27. So they really wanted to get out there, show the public their officers reacted the way they have been trained to react, which is sort of a really sad state that police are so heavily trained when it comes to mass shooting situations as well as school shooting situations.
Right. Yeah, and it is such a contrast. I mean, so you're right to mention Uvalde. Like I also think of Parkland, where one of the deputies on scene was so heavily criticized for knowing that the gunman was inside, but refusing to go in himself, and he was actually arrested for it. And I think of the unpopularity of police broadly across the United States. I mean, there's a whole movement to defund police forces. The criticism being that they're sort of, inadequate and ineffective to deal with modern day policing issues. And so, yeah, it really makes me wonder whether this move to release the body cam footage, whether there is a real intentionality and motivation behind doing that, because the body cam footage sort of makes those officers look like heroes, no?
Well, most of the analysis of that footage suggests that they behaved exactly how they should have. They heard the sound of gunshots, ran directly toward it, and they have been praised as heroes. I think part of the reason why Nashville police also want to get that out there is that so that the public is reassured that when you do call 911 and there is an emergency situation like this crisis, that the police are going to show up and do their job. Because of what happened in Uvalde, it really has shaken public confidence. And I think part of what happened there is to reassure the public that, if there is a horrible situation like this and you call 911, the police are going to show up, they're going to do their job and try and save lives.
Katie, what do you make of how U.S. lawmakers, some politicians have reacted to this, almost seeming to see this as a real political opportunity?
Yeah, so in the United States right now, there is a political movement directed toward the transgender community where lawmakers, largely in Republican states, are trying to restrict their rights, enact laws that make life for the transgender community more difficult. And it is the sort of one of the most intense culture wars in the United States right now. And when police confirmed that the shooter, Audrey Hale, in this case, identifies as transgender, we've seen some very influential, popular, and powerful voices in the American conservative movement seize on that moment, saying we don't need to, on social media largely, saying things like we don't need to ban guns, we need to ban transgender care, health care, or gender affirming care, those kinds of things, which are the heart of some of the most intense divisive conversations, if you can even call them conversations right now in the United States. And so we're seeing lawmakers, Marjorie Taylor Greene being one of them. She's a powerful member of the House. She's very close with the Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. She's put her voice behind that. She's actually been penalized by Twitter for one of her recent tweets that was deemed to be threatening toward the trans community. So that it's part of a bigger picture problem here, but because there is a member of a marginalized community that is behind this horrific act of violence, we are seeing people within that larger conservative movement in the United States seizing on that and saying, listen, this is a bigger picture problem here. They're not looking at what happened individually. We don't know much more from police about a motive here, but it's not stopping this sort of right-wing Republican conservative movement from trying to seize upon it.
Well, sure. And I wonder with this, all of the information that you've just given us, with that opening up such a clear line of attack for some politicians to use as an opportunity, I mean, the question that I get left with is how damaging this could potentially be for that community, for the trans community? How do we even begin to gauge the fallout from that?
Before any of this happened, based on a number of stories I've done in the past 6 months or so, there is a genuine fear in the LGBT community broadly of violence, of threats, and really rights being taken away by lawmakers. That it's a normal part of existence right now. And we've seen we saw the shooting last November at Club Q in Colorado, where a number of people were killed in a mass shooting there at a LGBTQ bar. And since then, we've seen this right wing. We've seen Proud Boys from the Proud Boys groups targeting different LGBT community events, largely drag queens. And we've seen other sort of protests against members of the trans community. So before this happened, the United States is existing in this moment where there is a real sense of fear in the queer community. It is very widespread. And now we have this situation where the people who are, leading the charge to, ban gender affirming care, ban trans kids from different types of, sporting events, bathroom bills, those kinds of things. We're now seeing those same leaders in that political movement seizing on this moment. So I think it's easy to say it's not going to make anything better in this situation, and it's certainly going to lead to more fear and deep concern.
Well, hey, Katie, it's been good to talk to you. We got to leave it there. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.